Hi, guys. It's Sven from Badass Counseling. So we created the Badass Counseling group on Facebook, and it grew to well over 45,000 members. And we kept getting asked by folks for a support group, a growth group that's more intimate, gives more access to me, Sven, if possible. So the Badass Counseling team got together, and they created Community Plus. For a monthly fee that isn't cheap, you get direct access to me 2 times a month where you can submit your questions directly. Monthly drawings for a small group counseling session with me. Monthly drawings for one-on-one counseling sessions with me. Priority Pass access to go to the front of the waiting list for ongoing counseling with me. Priority Pass access to be considered to be counseled by me on the Badass Counseling Show podcast. Direct access to my top 2 selling video courses, Healing the Soul and Unleashing Your Greatness. Interviews with people who've had success in their soul journey, some well-known and some everyday folks like you and me. And a fantastic opportunity to meet and get to know other men and women who take their healing and growth seriously and who do the work. And a social community feed where folks share their challenges, their struggles, and their triumph. And so much more. So go now to badasscounseling.com. Click on the Community Plus sign-up page for premium content and direct access to me and to like-minded people who are committed to healing, growth, and creating a community of support and happiness.
From the New York City area, welcome to the Badass Counseling Show, where the master badass himself, Sven Erlandson, takes you deep and gives balm for the soul, baby.
Hello. You have reached the Badass Counseling Show podcast. This is a live taping of a lightning round Q&A session. I am your host, Sven Erlandson. It's great to have you here. Thanks for joining us. I am joined by my team, KC over in the booth and Rob the Rocket right next to me. We are here to answer your questions on all things life related. I am Badass Counseling, the Badass Counselor online. We've got millions of followers on social media from TikTok and YouTube and Facebook, all 3 of which we are live on right now as we're taping. And we're just here to help you. So we're here. Fire in your questions for those of you joining us live. If you are catching a taped version of this, we're here to help. And we hope that these sessions that you listen to are helpful and instructive, or as my high school wrestling coach used to say, we learn by watching, or in this case, we learn by listening. We learn from others' mistakes. We get inspired. We learn from their successes, etc. And so for those of you who are on the show, come on the show, the counseling sessions, or offering your questions, please know that you are helping others by doing so. And so we're just here to help. Rob, what say ye today?
I've learned a lot by sitting next to you for all these many hours, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it.
Excellent. Well, and I tell you, it's helped me. It's brought fun to my life. This is fun. And I learned so much. From these, the questions people give are new insights for me, questions I haven't realized, thoughts and so forth. And that helps me in the counseling work that I do with people. When I have speaking events, there's always new insights I'm learning from people, which give me new ways to help other people. So on that note, let's begin. I have a question here from Miranda on TikTok. She says, how do you break patterns you learned as a kid, like people-pleasing, avoidance, etc.? You learn something new, or how you break something new, not necessarily with insights per se, or not by trying to teach yourself new habits. As I always say, and I talk about in my book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup, trying to change behaviors never changes behaviors long-term. If you're just trying to change behaviors, you'll always rubber band back to the old behaviors. You have to drill down to the core beliefs driving those behaviors. Okay, Miranda, you're following here so far. Okay, so how do you change those core beliefs? First of all, it requires identifying them. And those core beliefs, like people-pleasing and so forth, avoidance, those things are invariably caused by 2 things. 1, pain, which creates then fear, and also core beliefs that you were taught to believe about yourself. So if a child, for instance, we just finished a counseling episode of the show, and we had a couple of women on in 2 completely different life situations on opposite sides of the world, and they were talking about situations they grew up in. And one of the core beliefs that one of the women grew up believing is that I'm stupid. Not Sven is stupid. I mean, that's assumed. That she grew up believing about herself, I'm stupid, I make bad decisions. And so she's on the cusp of deciding whether or not to pursue her life dream of raising and training and selling horses, or to not do so. And she's really been struggling with this because of that core belief. And so she's been engaging in behaviors of backing down, of not trusting herself, of trying to fit into the box of doing what is expected of her in society. The other woman was taught to believe that her needs, her wants, her feelings don't matter. And so she has been taking care of her mother since she was a small child. And so those actions of people pleasing, taking care of someone else, subjecting my needs to the needs of others, not going after my dreams, are all conditioned by beliefs we were taught and the pain that went with them. And the pain of your needs don't matter. What do you think? And that's a stupid idea. Or however those things got conveyed, or growing up in a family growing up in a home that was scary, whatever it might have been. So until you go down in and begin to identify those core beliefs, and until you go down in and begin to identify and do the work of decharging those emotional charges and identifying those core beliefs and where they came from, you're just trying to change behaviors, and that won't stick. So how do you do that, of doing those changes? That's what I wrote the book for. There's a Hole in My Love Cup, to literally walk you through that process. There's a Hole in My Love Cup. Just go to my website, badasscounseling.com. That's the only place you can get the audiobook. You can get the paperback anywhere, right? Amazon or whatever. But the audiobook, the paperback, the ebook, the workbook that goes with it, the translations, we're in Swedish, we're in German, it's Spanish, French, it's all at badasscounseling.com, and it will walk you through the process. It will completely kick your ass and change your life, but you got to bring the courage. You got to be willing to do the work in the book. All right, next question. Penny Morgan asked the question, why do people think you have to be in a relationship to be happy? Well, for a lot of people, they believe that they don't. For some people just, they're happier when they're with someone, when they have a companion. Come along, Dolly, let's go play. Or someone they can do something with, share an experience with. I oftentimes, not always, enjoy having someone to do something with. Rob, do you enjoy sometimes having someone to do something with?
Without question. And I've only recently learned how to enjoy myself alone in a restaurant. Took a while.
Exactly. And so then some people enjoy doing some things alone. I enjoy doing lots of things alone. Bike rides. Sometimes just going and watching a football game at a bar, whatever it might be. But then there are other people who believe I have to be in a relationship, or I need someone in my life to confirm my worth, that I don't have value unless I'm in a relationship, which goes back to the question from Miranda just a minute ago over on TikTok. And this idea that I only have worth if I have someone telling me I have worth, or I have someone in my life. The mere fact that you are in my life says that I have worth. And so they have to be in a relationship in order to feel like I matter, I'm lovable, I'm worthy of love, I'm wantable. So some people, it's not just, gee, I feel good in and of myself and I do things on my own, but it's greater than that. It's I need it. I need it in order to feel good about myself. So that there are many different things and reasons, and some healthy and some, as you can hear, unhealthy. That fear that if I don't have someone, then all those voices inside of me come roaring up. Oh, see, I suck. See, I'm unlovable. See, I'm alone. See, I'm no good, just like they always said. That's why some people get in. And until you go down into, again, those core beliefs and begin to identify them and extract them, you will forever be clinging to the need to have someone, which is really, really fucking toxic, really bad when you're in a relationship. If that relationship isn't going so well, or if that person isn't treating you well. Why? Because you're going to stay in a relationship past its freshness date. You're going to allow someone to mistreat you. Why? Because it's safer to have someone mistreat you than it is to be alone. Why? Because you're so terrified of those voices inside of you that say, see, I suck. See, I'm alone. See, I'm no good. It's easier to have someone, to allow someone, oh, it's no big deal. Oh, I can put up with that, and I can take it. And you eat shit and you eat shit and you eat shit, because it still is better than being alone and those voices that attack you from within. All right, next question. Davin Clint Smith Sr. says, this is so deep. Wow. I'm here and I so hear. And this so resonates with me in my growth. I so hear me in those words. Awesome. Glad it speaks to you. All right. From Kath Percy, our friend from UK Wales. Can you please talk about betrayal trauma and trauma bond after divorcing a narcissist over 3 decades? How can you know you are healed or just scared to be vulnerable again from being hurt after self-isolating? Thank you. Yeah, great question, Kath. The question was, after you've gone through betrayal trauma and you had a trauma bond and now you've divorced a narcissist that you were with for over 3 decades, okay? And you've been doing the work to heal, okay? How can you know if you're healed or you're just scared to be vulnerable again from being hurt after self-isolating? You know you're healed when you're afraid of getting hurt, but you're willing to do it anyway. You know you're healed when you feel stronger, when you feel clearer, when you feel peace again in your soul, when you've done the work to those memories that you have of being with your narcissist and the trauma, when you've taken those memories that had those emotional charges attached to them, anger, fear, betrayal, rage, sadness, ennui, lethargy, all those feelings, and you've done the work to decharge those emotional charges so you don't have those sticks of dynamite inside of you, of those emotional charges, and you're walking around in life making sure that you don't bump into any lighters or matches that might light the fuses to those sticks of dynamite, right? That's the fear, right? You're a walking time bomb, so to speak, or dynamite. But once you do the work of flushing that out, using the tools that I talk about, yes, counseling, but also there's a hole in my love cup and badass wisdom and all these 2,000 videos, free videos I've created in the podcast, using these tools and journaling especially, writing letters that you don't send, flushing it all out. You become clearer. You have more peace inside. Then we get to your question where you say, how can you know if you're healed or you're just scared to be vulnerable again? Okay, if you're scared to be vulnerable again, there's nothing wrong with that. If you've been hurt in the past for any sort of hurt, death of a lover or a friend or a child, you've been hurt in a relationship, you got screwed over by a particular corporation that you used to work for, whatever it is, being afraid of that happening again, that's about as fucking normal as can be. But it's great. If you have a fear, X marks the spot. Drill down right there. That's where you need to be doing your journaling now. You need to be doing the work of flushing out all the fear you have regarding the idea of being vulnerable and getting hurt again. And you need to be busting your ass, journaling your fucking ass off on this idea of vulnerability and fear of getting hurt, fear of being sucked back in to another flying shit show. All right? And at some point, the more you do that flushing out of even those fears, and okay, now what I'm feeling? Well, now I'm feeling just stupid. Okay, well, and I'm not saying you would. I'm just throwing out ideas of what you might feel next. Great, go about the work of flushing that out. Then what are you feeling? Now flush that out. Keep working on that. Well, now I'm feeling more fear again. Great, keep flushing that out. And what you do, these tools, it's not a one-off. I got all the pain out, now I'm done. No, there's always new stuff, and you keep working on it. Because even if you do start going into a relationship, there are going to be new challenges. Do I trust enough to show my belly? Do I trust enough to reveal this new truth about me? Do I trust enough to reveal a new level of truth about me where I fear them knowing my weaknesses, or I fear them knowing that I'm not any good at this, or I'm not as smart as I came off, or I'm not as rich as I came off, or, I'm not in the best shape, or whatever it is. Do you have the courage to open up a bit more and open up a bit more? But in order to get the courage to do it, you have to be flushing out all your pains and your fears and your old beliefs about yourself. And then choosing to walk in and do it anyway. So how do you know? Because you have the fears and you're flushing out the fears, and there are always going to be new fears, and you keep flushing out, and you choose it anyway. And you're almost choosing it anyway, despite the fear, you're choosing it anyway with a sense of peace that goes with it. Like, this just feels right. I'm ready now. That's how you know. Next question, Rob.
Sven, over on YouTube, Maggie says, kind of a two-part question here. How would a single mom help her 17-year-old son learn to let go of anger? And how to trust men again when she's had so many failed relationships and heal from the decisions she made as a young mom?
Okay, so two completely different questions, sort of. It's about charged feelings inside of a person. One is your 17-year-old son, Maggie, who's got a lot of anger in him. I'm betting at you or either his father or you, in all likelihood, or his mother. Maybe he has two moms, or whoever raised them, because that's usually where it is. And then it manifests in a million ways, and likely with a 17-year-old, that anger, where if he's not been taught how to do with it and what to do with it, it's spilling out in a million directions, right? And how to teach him to let go of his anger. And then in your case, you're feeling what sounds like guilt and sadness over mistakes you've made in your past. Well, how do I get that shit out of me? Literally the exact same way of what I was just saying to Kath Percy in the UK, Wales, on her last question. You have to go into it and begin to flush all of that out. You have to identify, what am I feeling? I'm feeling intense shame for these fucking mistakes I made, and I'm so embarrassed, and I feel so guilty because I hurt my kids, or I did this and I did that, and I'm embarrassed and I'm angry at myself, and all those feelings. You have to be willing to face that, and it's humiliating, or it's sad, or it's maddening. I'm so mad at my old self. Well, good job. You found a new way to blame yourself. Whatever it is, but be willing to walk into your pain is to walk in and to accept it and to look at it and to feel it and say, this hurts. And while it's hurting, phase one is to bring it all up, to feel it, to walk into it, to allow it up. Phase two is to begin to do the work to get it out, which is why I recommend the no-cost method, cost of a pen and a pad of paper, and start journaling your fucking ass off. Writing letters to your old self, writing letters to the people who hurt you, or writing letters to the people who loved you, and flush. And don't send those letters. There's no need. The purpose is to get all these feelings out of you. So it's bringing it all up and getting it out, bringing more up, getting it out, up and out, up and out, up and out, not just up. And you ask then the question prior to that, how do I help my son let go of his anger? The goal isn't to let it go. You tell someone, oh, you need to let go of your pain. You need to get over it. You need to, no. I understand what you mean when you say that. The goal is your son has a lot of charged feelings inside of him that need to come out. So he needs to do precisely what you need to do, except he's likely not going to journal. My mom taught me to journal when I was 13. So by the time I came to the age of being 17 and Mr. Mature and I'm above all that shit, it was already a pattern. It was already a habit that I was using. Now, if you can start your son journaling and he sees that you're doing it and modeling, you're already modeling it for him, great. This is why we model behaviors, because children see us doing it. Getting feelings up and out in a healthy way. But absent that, you can be his psychologist, so to speak. You can be his therapist. You can be the person who listens and doesn't try to fix. That's the trick as a parent, isn't it? And as my mother said before dying in her 90s, she always used to say in raising 6 kids and teaching early childhood education at the graduate level, children want to be heard, not fixed. Let your child get it out and ask questions like, what's the hardest part? What's the scariest part? What's the most angering part? And a lot of his anger may be at you, and you've got to be able to sit there and listen and allow him to get it off his chest. Now, are you okay with that? And then you've got to take all those feelings, you've got to journal that out and get it out on your own. But this is how you teach your child to get it out of his system. Otherwise, what's he going to do? He's going to do what so many men and a whole lot of women have been conditioned to do. Just bottle up, stick it down, bottle it up and stick down. I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. Which, of course, they're not. And it only gets worse, et cetera, et cetera. Next question. All right. Shay says, your book is so good. I love it. All right. Next question. Oh, God. Here we go. This is from Yorks. Yorks writes, what would you tell a 19-year-old male that doesn't have a dad and just lost his mom from cancer with 3SI? I don't know what 3SI is. What would you tell a 19-year-old male that doesn't have a dad and just lost his mom from cancer? I would not tell him anything. To be very honest with you, if I were the one and I encountered this young male, 19-year-old male, let's say on a plane or on a train, and it happened to come out, and I would do precisely what I just said when I was taking the question on with the person over there on YouTube a minute ago. I would say, if he told me that, I would say, what's going on inside of you right now? How does that feel? Give me a feeling word. I cannot even imagine the level of pain that you are going through, young man. My parents died in their 90s, but they were supposed to die in their 90s. And you never had a father, and now your mother died of cancer. I'm going to ask you a really stupid question, young man. And it's dumb, but it's an honest question. Did you love your mother? Some people don't, so I'm just asking an honest question. You'd probably say, yeah, I did. How hard is it to lose your mother to cancer at 19? I have no idea what that's like because I didn't experience that. Can you tell me what that's like? Help me learn from you. And I would just shut the fuck up. And I would ask honest questions and I would shut the fuck up. I wouldn't try to put anything into him. I'd say, I can't even understand, son, and I'm so sorry for all you must be going through. And I wouldn't keep saying that. I would just let him talk and I'd ask, what's the hardest part? What's the scariest part, kid? What's the saddest part? This is going to sound stupid, kid. I know this is going to sound really stupid, but I've heard answers from people that are sometimes surprising. What for you is the saddest part? Is it that your mom died, or is it something, or is it that you're alone now in the world, or is it that your girlfriend left you, or which sounds crazy, but life is interesting. What is it for you? And some people would say, those are stupid questions. Those are crazy. How could that be the hardest? Oh, you don't know. Because think about it. Maybe he's always leaned on his girlfriend. And yeah, losing his mom was hard, but being alone now without his girlfriend may be the hardest part, or his boyfriend, or who knows? But just ask honest questions and listen. And make him feel heard. And make him feel seen. And let him just sort of get his feelings out in whatever sort of discombobulated way they come out. But by asking directed questions, what are you feeling? What's the scariest part? What's the hardest part? What's the saddest part? You are channeling his energy into a particular emotion, giving him permission to talk about sad or scary or ugly or happy or frightening or maddening. Can I ask you a question, kid? And maybe nothing, okay, but it's an honest question. Is it okay if I ask you? Yeah, sure, mister. And you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but what are you most angry at your mom for? I'm not angry at my mom. She died of cancer. Okay, fair. It's just an honest question. Or he may say, you know what? I'm actually mad at my mom because she refused medical treatment. Or I'm mad at my mom because she kept smoking even though she was diagnosed with cancer 3 years ago. Or who knows what. In other words, give him an opportunity to talk. I'll just sort of tick through each of the main emotions. Mad, sad, bad, glad. What do you feel bad about? What do you feel sad about? What do you feel? And then let him talk. Let him go where he wants to go with that particular feeling. And by doing that, he is discharging those feelings. And then just listen and don't try to fix. That's what I would do. All right. Next question. Actually, before we take that next question, we're going to take a quick commercial break. Keep sending in your questions.
I've read so many self-help books, and I always get something good out of them. But when I dove into There's a Hole in My Love Cup, well, it changed me. I cannot recommend this book highly enough. My copy is very dog-eared and highlighted. Thanks, Sven, for writing it. I love There's a Hole in My Love Cup, and believe you will also. Order your copy at badasscounseling.com.
This show provides soul counseling intended to entertain and inform and is not medical advice. Now, back to the badass.
And we are back with the Badass Counseling Show podcast. We're getting some really deep, heavy questions. We're getting some light questions. We're getting really great questions. This is great, all over the place, and I love it. That's really challenging, and it's exciting. I've got a really fascinating question here from someone here on TikTok, and it's a question we get every now and then. And you guys hear me say that one of the ways to decharge all the feelings and everything you're feeling and all that's going on, you have your memories that have emotional charges attached to them. One of the ways to decharge those and go inside and to bring up and get those feelings out and flush things out is by writing letters that you don't send and journaling and getting all your feelings out of you. And William Tell, and I'm going to use a euphemism here because this person is asking a question that TikTok doesn't like this word said on its platform. So I'm going to use a euphemism so that we can talk about it without TikTok ending my feed here, because it's done it before, as Rob well knows. William Tell asked the question, what if those letters that you're writing to people that you don't send as a way to decharge your emotions, what if those letters turn out to be notes about ending it? ending it. And I think you all know what I mean. All right. So what if that's what those letters happen to be? So you're trying to discharge your emotions. You're writing letters to people. And what if those notes are about ending it? As you may or may not know about me, if you've read my books, you know it. If you've listened to this podcast long enough, you know it. I've got 8-inch scars going up my forearms that I did, in fact, end it 25, 26, whatever years ago. Okay? And bled for an hour, it didn't end, and ended up realizing, I had the grand realization of, well, I guess I want to live, but if I'm going to do it, then I've got to, listen to this grand realization, choose differently. That was my grand revelation. The heavens opened, and that was my grand revelation. And that was it. And my life changed that day. Not in some grand revelation way, but just in sort of, okay, it begins today. And my life began that day. So whenever I encounter someone who is contemplating or ideations of, et cetera, ending it, I talk about it. I talk about, how would you do it? What have you thought about? What keeps you from doing it? What's your fear in doing it? What's your fear in not doing it? We talk about everything. Why? I'm not afraid to talk about it because I've been there. I was there in a 12-year ending it depression that no therapist could get me out of. I tried a bunch. None of them could. I was already asking in my own journaling, I was asking questions that were 10 questions ahead of what they were asking me or more. I was just journaling. I was in it, diving deeper, right? And I had to create my own way out of it. I read over 1,000 books while I was going to graduate school, seminary, and read over 1,000 books in so many different disciplines, and created my own method and way out. And that's what I've used over the last 30 plus years in counseling people in the worst shit of life. All right. And I'm committed to helping people. And that's, why we do all this shit. I have no idea why Rob and KC do it, but that's why I do this. Anyway, we're all part of a team. They humor me. And so for me, if someone is getting it out in writing those letters and in their journaling that they're writing about the idea of ending it, primo, I hope they're going deeper into it and writing out those feelings and why that. And what would that feel like? And going deeper, okay, where's this coming from? And when did this start? And what's the saddest part? And what's the hardest part? And what's the scariest part? And where is this coming from? And who am I maddest at? And what, all of it going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. Why? Because you're finally getting it out. You're finally giving yourself a voice. The whole problem of the ending it conundrum is that you've had your voice stolen. You've been conditioned out of your voice, out of feeling understood, out of feeling like you matter, and that the expression of your voice, of yourself, is necessary and good. So by you giving it words, you are giving your voice, you are giving your soul, you are giving your existence worth. As long as you're continuing to go deeper and deeper, where's this coming from? And sorting out the equation of getting it out, flushing it out, going deeper, finding the origins, and also working your way down to the essence of who you are, which is the good. All right, next question. I've got one from Nellena Peer. What an interesting name. Nellena. Nellena, I'm betting.
Lovely.
Yeah, beautiful name. Nellena Peer. How do you trust again after so many have betrayed you? Two things. One, failure to trust, unwillingness to trust is driven by fear. If you've been hurt in the past, how do you trust again after so many have betrayed you? You've been hurt by betrayal in the past. If you're afraid of getting hurt again, you're going to put up those walls and you're going to hide behind those walls. I don't want to trust because it only leads to pain. It's logical. It actually makes total sense. Not a bad position to take, unless you want to trust again, unless you want a relationship, which you obviously do. Otherwise, you wouldn't even ask the question. If you didn't want a relationship again, if you didn't want to trust again, you wouldn't even be asking. So obviously you do. So you feel stuck. I can't trust again because I'm afraid I'll get hurt. Okay, first thing you need to do is precisely what I've been talking about in several of these questions. You have to go into the pain of when you were hurt. Those memories you have of being hurt, betrayed, shut down, wounded. You need to go in and start journaling about those and writing letters that you don't send. Talk about it, go deep with your therapist, not just, let's talk about how I was hurt this week. No, going deep into the real shit. Okay. But furthermore, what you need to be doing, Elena, is going back into the origins, way back there, of where you were taught the deeper messages. And that's what my book is for. There's a hole in my love cup, as Mark Curran is saying in the comment right above yours here on Facebook. Anyway, so you've got to go in and you've got to get into the pain and start decharging that pain by flushing out all the feelings that are at the root of the pain and that are causing you to feel the fear going forward. So that's part one. Part two is this. This is perhaps the most critical piece, and this is why I've been on a talking about dating kick really hard for the last year and a half, 2 years. Really hard. Pushing, talking about dating. Why? Because one of the things I just see ever more and more clearly, regardless of your age, and this isn't just for 20-year-olds, because I got people starting dating. Rob just started dating again in his 70s. All right. It's starting dating in their 50s, in their 40s, in their 60s, whatever it is. One of the biggest mistakes people make, and I used to do this, and it's if you have been burned, as this person, Elena Pierre, is talking about, how do you trust again after so many have betrayed you? The antidote to that is the beginning of the dating process and subsequently, and that is, listen to this. In the beginning, it's so one of our tendencies is, can I trust this person? And once you establish that you either can trust this person or that I really want this relationship with this person, we put it all on the table. We push all in with our chips. And then we just have this great relationship, right? Until it goes afoul. And what I'm advocating for is take your time. Well, I don't want to fucking take my time. It's a relationship. I want to be all in, baby. Come on now. All right. What I'm advocating is more of a 1-to-1 correlation, a 2-to-1, a 1-to-2, a 3-to-1, a 1-to-3. That it's bit by bit. We're building something bit by bit by bit by bit. And that means that as I'm investing a bit more, they're investing a bit more. As I'm opening a bit more, they are opening a bit more. As I'm trusting a bit more, they're trusting a bit more. Or as they're trusting a bit more, wow, I'm challenged now. Shoot, I want to trust a bit more. Has this person trusted me with things that made them feel weak or vulnerable? Shit, man, I got to step up my game and I got to open up with things that made me feel weak or vulnerable. All right? Am I just sitting back and letting them invest and letting them give? So it's bit by bit, we're both investing. And if you sense that someone is pulling back or someone is only taking, don't keep investing. If someone's being hurtful, if someone's not owning the pain they've caused, don't keep giving. Why? Don't keep trusting. Why? Because you're fundamentally conveying the message, you don't have to do anything nice. You don't have to do anything good. You don't have to keep opening. I'll just keep trusting you. I'll just keep giving to you. Nelena, I am willing to bet that in the past, when you have been betrayed, whether it happened 2 years, 20 years into the relationship, there were indicators sooner that if you and I were sitting down having a beer or, just a conversation on a flight, whatever, that we would be able to see indicators sooner of when certain forms of mistreatment or being taken advantage of started earlier. And then we would have to ask, why didn't you pull back a little bit then to match their pulling back? Why did you keep investing or keep trusting when they were acting in a distrusting manner? Now, I'm not saying that to antagonize you. We've all done it. There's no shame in this. I'm simply saying that it's not that I'm constantly vigilant and I'm constantly afraid. It's just more like I'm constantly aware that we're in a relationship here and my needs matter. And I will continue to invest in trust as this person continues to invest in trust. I'm in a relationship that I've been in 12 years, and my partner is saying, hey, Sven, my needs aren't being met here. I trust you with this, and I need you to step up. Or I'm saying, hey, dude, you don't get to do that on X or Y, and that's not okay. And she's like, oh, no, I do. Or she'll say, you know what, you're right. So it's a constant ongoing of stating our needs, making our wants known or our fears, and the other person is too, and it's constantly putting myself out there, but also keeping the other person in check, but also monitoring their wants and needs and making sure I'm meeting those needs. It's never an all in per se, but it's every day a new, am I all in, or constantly monitoring? It's not just a once and for all. So what I'm saying is there always the threat that someone could betray me? Yes. But what we're trying to do is monitor the smalls and the mediums. Because as you are monitoring the smalls and the mediums, particularly in the early dating process and the beginnings of a marriage, let's say, or a more permanent relationship, as you are monitoring those most closely, you are setting patterns that are going to be in place for the duration of your relationship. It's just like training a puppy that's going to the bathroom in the house. If you are not taking that puppy outside every time they urinate in the house, you are training the puppy it's okay to go to the bathroom in the house. Sometimes, and sometimes not. Mixed messages. And so you're putting new patterns in place. Oh, but I really want this person. So it's okay. And you're just setting a pattern in place. And so the trusting, again, is a twofold, getting back to your question. It's a twofold process. One, you go about getting out all your pain and all your fears and all your hurts. You do the work of actively flushing and continuing to do that throughout your life with all of your feelings, flushing it out, using journaling, using writing letters you don't send, etc. But also in your relationships, this applies to friendships, this applies to love, this applies to work, that I invest and that I need to see the other person investing as much as I'm investing, trusting as much as I'm trusting, sharing as much as I'm sharing. There has to be a co-equal investment into the relationship. Next question. You said you had one, Rob?
I do, Sven, over on YouTube. Krista says, I read your book and doing the journaling. My growth was applauded until I chose to leave. Now I'm brainwashed and think something is wrong with me. How do I maintain a healthy mindset through this?
This is Krista?
Yes.
Krista. So when you first did the work, you were applauded. And then once you chose to walk away from a relationship, then you were vilified, you were scorned because, hey, you've been brainwashed, man, right? Okay. Well, first of all, that sucks, Krista. I'm sorry that you're being treated this way. But more importantly, I'm sorry that someone feels that they have the right to tell you that. What I'm really sorry for is that you have so much of your own sense of worth tied up in another person. If I'm being really honest with you, that this person has so much power over you that they actually believe that them sort of scorning you like that will have an impact. And clearly it does have an impact. So they believe they're going to make you feel bad by telling you you're brainwashed and shit like that. They believe that because that's worked on you in the past. Hasn't it? Right. Which is why they keep doing it. Because they had a way to sort of get you back in line by putting you down and saying, you're brainwashed, dummy. Right. And it hurts because you're in the part that's on your side of the equation is it hurts because you're still wanting their approval. You're still and you've lived so much of your life on their approval. And now you're at the make or break time of life. Do you have the courage to be who you are even without their approval? Now, raise your hand, everyone, if at some point in your life, you, and possibly even today, you live significantly on the desire for other people's approval. Well, I think that's pretty much all of us, right? We are all fighting that demon inside of us. And where the rubber hits the road is, do you have the courage to be who you are, even when I don't get the approval of the people I want the approval from? And who do you want the approval from most? More often than not, it's the people who raised you or the people who you've been closest to, lover, best friend. The people who we've given our trust to, we give our love to most. You want their love back. This person has said, you're brainwashed. In other words, you're bad. I don't like you. You're stupid. Go back to being who you always were. And you're like, but I'm this new person. And this is what I talk about in the book. I talk in one of my books, There's a Hole in My Love Cup. I say, the price of becoming who you are is you're going to lose some people or you're going to walk away from some people. And so what you're fundamentally, because they want you to be who you've always been. And you're like, but I'm this new person. They're like, no, I don't want that. And you're like, I don't want to lose this person. Okay, well, here's your choice. Do you choose you or do you choose them? It's that simple, Krista. It's hard, but it's simple. It's clear, but that doesn't mean it's not hard. And you've got a hard choice to make. Do you choose you? Because they don't want the new you. They want old you. So what do you choose? Old you or new you? It's your choice. There's no right or wrong answer. It's your choice. I've got a good question here from one of our regular followers who always has good questions. I like to give everybody a shot, and so I don't always take from our regulars, but I like to hit them now and then. And this is a good one. Devil Blues asked the question on TikTok. Regarding your latest video, Sven, latest as in literally just went up about an hour or two ago. In it, I talk about, is your venom justified? Is your anger right? And the sweetness of holding on to anger when you know it's justified. I just put it up 2 hours ago. I just posted it this morning. It's up on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. It'll be up on the others shortly. Anyway, Devil Blues asks, regarding your latest video, Sven, how can righteous anger poison us if we stand up for ourselves? Great question. Righteous anger is when you know that you're right. When you know that you've been wronged and you stand up for yourself. All right? I'll tell you, in a personal case with mine, all right? So, and you all know I've made a million mistakes, done a million stupid things, but I've also done a few things right. And so I knew that, for instance, in my first divorce, where my first wife divorced me, I knew that, sure, I made some mistakes, but any level of punishment I got was a $500 punishment for a 50-cent crime, $5 crime at worst. All right. And that perpetuated for over a decade. And I finally began to see it. It's like, what the fuck? And I knew one thing, and this was back in my 20s. So this is a million years ago, right? But I knew and she was ostracizing my kids from me, pouring poison into their ears and so forth. I knew that I had one thing and only one thing on my side, and it wasn't the law. Law wasn't helping me, and I thought we were going to have an amiable divorce, and I just, we just talk as, and do it amiably. And no, her father had been general counsel of the Securities Exchange Commission appointed by Richard Nixon. So he was a big shot lawyer. Now, this was years after Nixon's presidency, but not the point. He was a big shot lawyer, argued cases before the Supreme Court. And he had a friend of his, and they just they porked me up the ass with a lead pipe on that one. And even though I thought we were going to just be, anyway, I got fucked. But I knew I had one thing on my side. Time. And I knew the day would come when children become adults. I knew all I had to do, my children were like 6 and 2 at the time, 6 and 3, whatever it was. I only had to wait until they were 35. I know that sounds insane, but I knew that from my life's work and my studies and everything, that it's around the mid-30s-ish when children have become adults, but not fully, and they begin to see life as an adult. They begin to see what? Villains become heroes and heroes become villains. They began to see people for who they really are, not just who I've wanted them to be or what I've been conditioned to see them as. And so, what am I saying? All that time, for that decade plus after the divorce, I held on to this righteous anger. And I didn't actually stand up for myself. Well, there were a few times where I did stand up for myself, and it gave me the strength to stand up for myself. But it was 2007 where I finally realized I'm carrying around, there's this cloud over me. I'm like Pigpen in the old Peanuts cartoon series. Pigpen was always walking around with this cloud of dirt around him. That was me. And the cloud was over my head, and the cloud then was over my kids. Not that I was overtly mean or hurtful to them. It was just this cloud of negative energy. And I realized I was holding on to the anger, the desire for justice at the expense of my happiness and my flow of positive energy in the world, and at the expense of my children. So I said, I'm just going to let it go. And so I told my armies, it's like 2 armies were encamped on opposite sides of the river. And I told my army, load up all of our weapons, all of our ammunition, all of our righteous anger cannons into these semi-trucks. And we're going to drive it. And we drove them across the river, and we parked them, left the keys in the ignition, and we all walked back. And I said, in the words of the great Nez Perce Indian chief, Chief Joseph, Native American chief, Chief Joseph, I literally had these words in my head at the time. I will fight no more forever. I shall fight no more forever. I was tired of fighting. I let her win, and I walked away. Today, 20 years later, my children and I are very close, and their wives and my grandchildren. So yes, do I have the power to stand up for myself? You asked the question, Devil Blues, regarding your latest video from this morning, Sven. How can righteous anger poison us if we stand up for ourselves? I can still stand up for myself, but I choose not to carry around anger and carry it around. Why? Because it's just toxic. I'd rather be happy. I'd rather have joy. I'd rather be light. I still have the power. You have to understand, anger is just a tool in your tool belt. I can conjure it at any moment. I can conjure the ability to stand up for myself at any moment. And you can too. You don't have to stay angry at a person in order to be able to conjure that power. But once you become more familiar with your anger, because inside of your anger is your no. No, this isn't okay. No, you can't treat me this way. No, I don't want to do that. Inside of that no is your I. I don't like this. This isn't fair to me. I don't want to be treated this way. Once you have found your I, you never lose that power. But you can get rid of all the anger that finally brought you to this point. Now you have that glorious tool in your tool belt, and you need to be able to conjure that, because otherwise your love that you show is flaccid. Because love without that no, without the power to stand up with the ferocity of a mama bear or the ferocity of a powerful man, if love without anger, love without strength, love without the I is just weak. Anyway, so that has been a live taping of the Badass Counseling Show podcast. Thank you to everyone. Rob, any final thoughts?
That was fun, and the show had a lot of flow today. It went very well.
It did. A lot of great questions. Thanks, guys. On behalf of my team, to all of you tuning in around the world, whether from Montana or anywhere else, have a kick-ass day.
The Badass Counseling Show is strictly copyrighted. No copies may be made without the express written consent of the Badass Counseling Show, LLC. The Badass Counseling Show is produced by Karen Camparelli and Robert H. Friedman. Executive producer Sven Erlandson. Original music by two-time Emmy Award-winning composer Trevor Morris. Have a kick-ass day.